Ignorance.
If you don't ask, you can't learn anything.
No, it's back. Give it to the quarterback. No, we got the running back. What? Straight off the couch. Here are the stories we're going to be chasing today.
Well, we're going to be chasing Week 11 of the NFL. So let me bring in my broadcast partner, the ever affable and effervescent. He puts the in Canada. It's Adam Weidel. Adam, how are you today, brother?
How's it going, eh? I'm having a great week. What a week in football, though. How are you, Terry?
I've had better weeks.
We'll get to that. But did you notice a little bit of a trend this week? The kickers left the chat.
Yeah, they had a rough weekend, didn't they? So let's start off with our Thursday night game, which actually turned out to be a lot better than I thought it was going to be until the fourth quarter when Saquon Barkley said, "I've had enough of this," and took over the game. But it was 26-18, the Eagles taking the Commanders to task.
This game, I thought exactly this was going to turn out the way it was going to be. They're divisional rival. Washington's having a great season. Eagles were they came on strong. They had a couple flubs earlier in the season, but they got healthy and they figured things out. And Washington still a strong team, but shocking to me still that Washington's such a strong team after the years and years and years of having bad teams. But new ownership and management and front office will change a team drastically, and they've done it in less than a season.
And that was kind of what was expected once Dan Snyder was no longer in the building, is that they were going to improve exponentially, and they have. I mean, Dan Snyder is Dallas has the same problem that Washington had with Dan Snyder. The owner gets too involved in the day-to-day operations and is screwing things up.
That number 3 overall pick's looking real good, I tell you that.
It certainly is. And that brings us to our Sunday block of games. The first one up for the noon 1 o'clock window, I have the Raiders at the Dolphins. Not much of a contest there. The Dolphins 34, Raiders 19.
It was just an awful game overall. Both these teams, I don't think anybody wanted to watch. Now, Dolphins improved their record, and they're still under 500 to 4-6, and Raiders are 2-8. This is not something anybody wants to watch in the 1 o'clock window when we're so blessed with the early window with like 8 games. You can pick and choose what you want to watch.
Right, and there were better games to watch for sure. Then we had the Browns going into New Orleans. New Orleans put up 35 to the Browns 14. Nobody's at this point in time, I don't expect the Browns to be predictable at all.
Yeah, so this game looked a lot more interesting early on. It was tied at 14 at one point. Saints were up 14-7. Browns came back with a touchdown. I was like, oh, we got a game. And then I was made a fool of because they didn't get any more points after that. Saints now have a record of 4-7. MVS has made a huge difference on that squad, and the Browns are sitting at 2-8. And I'm not expecting much of them for the rest of the season since they trade away a lot of their equity, and they still got that big quarterback contract that's they're paying out guaranteed. So I don't expect them to make any moves anytime soon.
That's an albatross hanging over Cleveland's head right now for sure. We have the Colts.
Cleveland's going to Cleveland.
Then we have the Colts and the Jets. The Jets almost won this one, but Indianapolis said, nah, I don't think so. 28-27 Colts.
This was a stupid, interesting game. So I said last week on our episode that if Flacco starts, the Colts are winning this for sure. And then I think it was about 3 hours after we'd aired that we got the notification that Anthony Richardson was starting. And I text Terry and I said, Colts lose this one for sure. And this turned into a game. Jets had a slow start. They had a good middle, and then they had a slow end, and Colts end up winning this one 28-27. Colts are still in the playoff race with a record of 5-6, and the Jets are going to jet it. They're 3-8.
And today they fired their general manager.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I just saw that a couple hours ago.
He had some really good defensive drafts, but he hasn't been able to figure out the quarterback situation, and New York's had enough of him, so they're moving on. That brings us to the Vikings going into Tennessee, and Vikings are looking like a serious contender for the playoffs.
That was a little bit of a snoozer of a game, though. Let's be fair.
Well, they're playing the Titans, you know.
The Titans look good for a little bit, but there was very little action in this game. Vikings, Justin Jefferson, he's just wow. He can. This kid can make plays. No wonder why they signed him to a big contract. Vikings win this one 23-13. They have a record of 8-2, and the Titans might as well just pack their bags at this point because they're 2-8.
So we have the Titans at 2-8, the Browns at 2-8, and the Raiders at 2-8. All AFC teams. So
a lot of 2-8s.
Yeah, that brings us to our other 1:00 noon game. The Green Bay Packers come into Chicago, and at this point in time, I'm at a loss for the Bears, and I'm a huge Bears fan. I just don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah, so watch that game intently, and man, if it wasn't for Jordan Love, I don't think the Bears would have a chance in that one. He just throws to the other team. He's just like, I think that's the same color. He's got like the kind of Jameis Winston thing going on right now, where he's just kind of throwing picks left, right, and center.
Well,
Bears defense looked good. They got some movement on the offensive side of the ball. It looked pretty good. Swift smashed through. He did some smash mouth football. Great running back. He got them kind of motivated to kind of win this game. And unfortunately, at the end, like last week, another shocking 2 seconds left on the clock, blocked field goal, and Packers end up winning it. They now have a record of 7-3, and the Bears are 4-6. And Randy Rojas was here on the weekend. He's like, "You better check on Terry."
Well, so in the third quarter there was 4th and 2. The Bears went for it and got the first down. In the fourth quarter there was 4th and I want to say 3. The Bears go for it and get the first down. Then they get the first down in field goal range and kick immediately. They let the clock run out, take a timeout, bring Cody Parkey out there. You have the offense that has been performing for you at a pretty good level all the game long. You went out and spent a really high draft pick on Caleb Williams specifically for this situation, and then you start coaching scared in the last 3 seconds of the game.
I was quite shocked that they didn't just try to run the ball 3 times.
Right, just if for no other reason, just to center it up a little better on the crossbar,
or just to get a couple more yards, like use the sidelines, run it out of bounds if you're worried about clock.
Something,
just to get a little better yardage. That's it.
The Bears did file a complaint with the league this week. They believe that the Green Bay rusher contacted the center, the long snapper, before the 1 or 2 second period that they have. They have to give him a chance to protect himself, basically. And the Green Bay rush did not do that, so a complaint was filed. That won't change the outcome of the game, but that's something to make note of.
Well, that's the thing too, is it's not going to affect the W's and L's. Somebody's might get a fine, but it doesn't really affect the record.
Yeah, so it's kind of a pointless move, but they did.
So it's shitty for the fans. I mean, let's be honest.
And it was twice this year. I mean, twice this year you've lost in the closing seconds of the game in an embarrassing coaching fashion. There's really serious questions about Matt Eberflus as a coach now. That brings us to... Well,
the Bears could easily be 7-3 right now with these 1-2 point games that they've been in.
Yeah, absolutely. That brings us to Jaguars visiting Detroit. Detroit put up a 50-burger on Jacksonville, and...
I think we called that.
Detroit is the class of the NFL right now. They are doing everything perfectly well.
Just the best team in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. They have the same record as, everybody's darlings, the Kansas City Chiefs. But, I mean, Jaguars, 6 points on the board. 52-6 is the final score. Jags have a record of 2-9. Lions now 9-1. I can't say enough about this Lions team. We talk about them every week because they seriously impress us. They showed us that they were beatable last week, and they still came back and won the game. And this week, it was just like, we're not taking any chances. We're going to pound these Jaguars into the ground early. And even when it was 42-6, they still came back and threw up another touchdown and field goal just to kind of twist the knife.
No, I think Dan Campbell wants to make sure his guys don't take the foot off the gas. That's what I think it is.
And they're going to be tough to beat.
That's aggressive coaching, and that's what I like to see. We have the Los Angeles Rams going into New England and barely squeaking one out, 28-22.
This game was a well thought out game. If New England had a little more help in the offensive side of the ball, Drake May can't do it all. He's looking really good, by the way. He is definitely the answer for this team going forward, but they need to work on their offensive line. I say this every week, and they need to get some sort of marquee receiver or back. Ramondre Stevenson is a pretty decent back, but he's had his issues. But Matthew Stafford, he figured out his Achilles heel this week, and he figured out how to throw some touchdowns again. He was a little bit of a slump for a bit.
Yeah, well, that happens. I mean, especially when you're on the north side at 38. Then we had
Rams win this one 28-22. They have a record of 5-5, and New England almost at that 4-win threshold that I called at the beginning of the season. They are now 3-8.
And this brings us to our last noon 1:00 game. This is one that Adam and I talked about a lot last week. Ravens going into Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh barely held on. I mean, it was a really good game, close game back and forth the whole time. I wish I could have spent more time watching that.
So I did watch it thoroughly. Ravens are now 7-4, good record. But Steelers 8-2. Steelers win this one 18-16. But you have to ask the question: if Justin Tucker didn't leave the chat, the Ravens would have won this one.
Maybe. I mean,
he missed everything.
Yeah, no,
it's
a fair question. He had a bad day kicking.
What do they call it? A case of the yips?
Yep.
Like probably the best kicker in the league, record-wise. The guy would never miss. He was just ice flowing through his veins. Just missed everything this week, and a lot of kickers did. The early window was oh my God! At one point, there was 3 games that were going for a field goal at once, and they all missed, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, they were all kicking wide left. And that brings us to our late slate of games. First one out of the box, we have that NFC West matchup. Seattle going into the 49ers. 2017 is the final score. That run at the end of the game, it was. He just said, "You know what? I've had enough of this. I'm gonna win this one all by myself."
Absolutely fantastic, Geno Smith. I'm so impressed with him. Soon as Russell went to Denver, I was just like, what is Seattle going to do here? Like, how are they going to, take on the teams in this division? Because all those teams in the division were pretty hot at the time. They were all playoff contenders. Seahawks pull this one out. Geno, he didn't disappoint. He's, I think he's in the top 2 for passing yards for quarterbacks in the league right now. Well, Seahawks 5-5, 49ers are 5-5. So we've got a couple more weeks of football to see what shakes out in this division.
A lot of that Seahawks, a lot of Geno's numbers are from that one game where he had like 500 yards passing. So he's still living on that one game. But he last week he was like, I'm not going to lose this fucking game, and he did it. He was amazing. That brings us to our second late window game. Nobody saw this coming. The Falcons going into Denver and losing 6-38.
Yeah, Kirk O'Chains didn't have what it was taken, and you know what? Broncos defense is legit.
Yeah, they're looking really, really solid. That brings us to our last late window game.
Both those teams are 6-5 now, by the way. 38-6 was the final score, Broncos.
The last late window game, Josh Allen wants to beat these guys in the playoffs, not during the regular season. It was the Kansas City Chiefs going into Buffalo. Josh Allen putting the big red S on his chest and winning the game practically by himself.
So this was an impressive game. The game started off with Patrick Mahomes throwing an interception. They had possession of the ball first, and the Bills answered with a score on that. And I was just like, oh, my God, this is something that I've been saying for years. You have to convert points on those turnovers. And they did. They put up 7. They put up 6 because another missed kick.
Right, yeah, another missed kick.
That's right. So another missed kick. Then, things start to kind of level out. It's looking like it's a close game. Bills did look like the better team the entire time. And then Josh Allen comes in. And, I heard it in my head. And then I've seen so many replays of this put to the music in the background. There goes my hero,
Yeah, he just comes out and says, I've had it.
Foo Fighters, I've seen so many variations of it, and it's like the same play over and over. Josh, I don't know how he broke all those tackles. Guy's just a machine.
He just willed the win to happen, and that's
But
how
this
it went.
goes back to what I was saying last week with this game. He didn't play hero ball. He didn't throw it for the sake of throwing it. He threw it away. He played some smart football.
He played within himself. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't put the whole team on his shoulders and say, "Hey, I've got to win this." Now, the big help this year is he's got a lot of running help, and he's got some decent receivers. They had a couple guys that were out still, and it didn't seem to falter this team at all. He made one hero play, and that was the big play.
The big run, the big rush play, yeah.
But he did it safely because he wasn't throwing the ball. He had complete control of the ball. He was actually holding the ball with both arms at one point so it didn't get stripped from him, because that's the big move in the league this year, is try to punch the ball out.
Well, that and he went down before he took the hit. The past Josh Allen would have taken the hit before he went down. This time he saw it coming and slid. So
Josh Allen makes America great again by winning the game. 30-21 final score. Bills now have a record of 9-2, and Chiefs are now defeated, 9-1.
And that brings us to our Sunday night football game. Cleveland going into the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh has the Chargers playing their defense playing inspired football. But the final score was 27-34.
Yes and no. Yes and no on inspired football. So the Chargers had this game on lock. And that defense decided to take a half off and let Cincinnati get back into the game and had something like 17 unanswered points.
Yep, that's fair.
This game was tied.
At one point in time, right, yeah.
Yeah, it was 27-27. Bengals failed to convert to put points on the board. Chargers ran it down the field and ended up getting the touchdown. 34-27 is the final score. Chargers looking good at 7-3 right now. Bengals, I don't know how many yards or points you have to put up on the board to win a game. I feel bad for these guys at this point. They have a record of 4-7.
Joe Burrow has a unique stat line where he's the only quarterback to throw for more than 3 touchdowns, more than 400 yards, and no interception over a 5-game period, and still lose 3 out of 5.
They're just, I don't know. Their defense needs to step up, though. They need to help him out.
Yeah,
he's putting up fantastic numbers, and there's no way they should be losing the game based on the numbers that he's putting up.
That's absolutely fair. Their defense is struggling mightily. And that brings us to Monday Night Football. The roof was falling down in Dallas in more ways than one. Texans putting the beat down on the Cowboys, 34-10.
Do you think it's because it was a primetime game, or because they closed the roof, that there was no sun in the eyes of the players? Like, what's their excuse this week for the Cowboys losing? The sun was in my eyes.
No, the excuse this week is Jerry Jones needs to stay the fuck out of there.
So I watched, just to take a sidestep, but it involves AT&T Stadium. I watched the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson bout from AT&T Stadium on Friday. And it was all about the home of the Cowboys, how great the Cowboys are. We're in their house. And Jerry Jones was there for an interview, and who was the other guy? There's another Cowboys alum was there. Anyway, Michael Irving. That's who it was.
Yeah.
They sit down and they talk about how great the Cowboys are and how great the stadium is and all this other shit. It made no difference to the actual bout, but then they had the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders down the entranceway for the fighters, and they were cheering them on, and it was all about the Dallas Cowboys and this big campaign and this big show. The Cowboys are now 3-7.
I don't understand the league's fascination with Dallas. There was one game, it was a Monday Night Football game. Dallas wasn't even playing, and they spent 45 minutes of the Monday night pregame talking about Dallas.
It's the Cowboys, man. Like, okay, they were good in '93, but they also played a Buffalo Bills team that went to 4 Super Bowls in a row and couldn't finish the job. Like, talk about a case of the yips, but that's the Cowboys. They haven't been good since, and everybody talks about the Cowboys like the big thing is that I hear all the time that just makes me kind of like nauseous is this is our year. This is our year. I even saw a sign in the stands last night that says next year's our year. I giggled so hard. Texans didn't look that great either early on, but they just ended up with possession of the ball longer, and they made some moves. They made some good run plays. C.J. Stroud looked a little shaky for a while. He got it together. He moved the ball down the field.
Well, last year the Texans snuck up on a lot of people. That's not happening this year.
Yeah, Texans have a record of 7-4 now, and they're looking like a legitimate playoff contender.
And he's prancing outside the door here. Let's go ahead and bring him in.
He's prancing
Ladies
this week.
with an attitude, fellas that were in the mood. Don't just stand there, let's get to it. Strike a pose, there's nothing to it.
It's Coach Blackwell. Hi, Coach.
Hi, Terry. Hi, Adam. How was your week?
I got a new pair of shoes. I feel fabulous.
Oh, always get the nice shoes. They make you feel so good, make you feel like a new man.
Yes, and believe me, at 62, I need to be a new man. So, what was the fashion this week in the NFL?
Not a lot of fashion this week, unfortunately. Looks like everybody's kind of diverting to their just regular uniforms, but there was a couple interesting things. Bengals came out with white jerseys and orange pants. It's the first time we've ever seen it. Ever.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Coach, because I know how much you appreciate the fashion, but sometimes it's just not much going on fashion-wise in the league.
Broncos come out again this year, second time. I think it's a big color rush year, Terry. There's a lot of teams that are just wearing like tops and bottoms the same color. They came out in their sunset orange tops and bottoms. Same old Navy helmet, but tops and bottoms. They were very orange this week. They looked very hot.
Who else will look good?
Lions. Oh, what a good look. Honolulu blue tops and bottoms. They look scrumptious. Then I had the Dolphins and the Colts. They did their complete whiteout thing again. They've done that multiple times this year. White helmets, white pants, white shirts. They looked okay, but it seems to be the league's thing this year. They want to ice one team and they want to color rush the other.
Well, that's just how polarizing the league is. Anybody else? Any honorable mentions here?
So Titans came out in their color rush navy. They had navy top to bottom. Again, another color rush. And then finally, probably the uniform of the week, Texans come out last night in their deep steel blue, but it looked really black to me on the screen, so I don't know what they're saying.
I think it's the lighting there in Dallas. They burned up so many bulbs with the Jake and Michael Tyson fight,
I thought it was the Falcons playing for a second. I was just like, what is this team?
And that'll pretty much do it for this week. Coach, as always, thanks for visiting.
Stay fabulous.
Have a good week, buddy. And that brings us to this week's slate of games. Thursday night, we have the Steelers going into Cleveland. I know it's a national game. We have to call this one, but I think I can safely step out and say Adam and I are probably both going to take the Steelers in this one.
So I'm very conflicted this week. My brain says, yes, it's going to be the Steelers. But here's something funny. My wife is a Browns fan. Don't ask me why. She's all about the big underdog. And Thursday happens to be her birthday. So I'm hoping for a birthday miracle and that she gets a win. I see the Steelers winning this one, but I'm going to take the Browns just in case.
Really? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
You go, girlfriend.
Yeah, just look, you gotta throw your support sometimes, you know.
Yeah, you gotta take care of the spouse. I get that. That brings us to our noon 1 o'clock slate of games. First one up out of the box is Titans at Texans. Again, I don't see that going much in the way of Tennessee's favor.
I don't think this is going to be a very interesting game, especially the way the Texans played last night. Titans are struggling. I mean, they have been making some good plays, but they just can't finish the job. Texans are probably going to win this one by a field goal. Keep in mind they're a little tired on the short week.
Right. And then we go have the Vikings coming into Chicago for the Bears. At this point in time, I'd be hard pressed to call the Bears. I'm sorry.
I don't think the Vikings are looking that great, though, and it is a divisional game. Both these teams need to get a win. I think I'm going to put my hat in the Bears' corner this week because I think it's going to be another one of those couple-point games. I don't think it's going to be a full possession. I think it's going to be like 1 or 2 points. It's going to be something stupid. Well,
I hope you're right. That brings us to Cowboys going into Washington, an NFC East battle, but the way Dallas is playing and a short week, I think this has Commanders stamped all over it.
I'm wondering for this game because Cooper Rush just he shit the bed hard.
Yeah, he stunk up the place. Yeah,
he hasn't looked good. I wonder if we see Trey Lance for the Cowboys this week. Either way, Washington takes this game hands down. I don't see Washington losing this game at all.
And that brings us to New England Patriots going all the way down to Miami and playing against the Dolphins. This actually has potential to be a pretty good game the way the Patriots have been playing lately.
It's definitely a coin flip game. Historically, what happens is Dolphins come to New England, and New England wins, and New England goes down to Florida, and Miami wins. And they've usually split the division
for the home. Whoever has home field advantage
for the majority of it. Yeah, whoever has home field advantage there. I believe this is their second meeting of the year. Don't quote me on that because I really haven't been following who the Patriots have been playing every week, just because I don't want to set myself up for super disappointment. I've been following all the other games too, so. I believe that this is the match where the Dolphins beat them by a field goal. Their defense looks good. The Patriots' defense looks good, but Dolphins are starting to find a groove.
They certainly are. That brings us to our next 1 o'clock / noon game. Kansas City goes into Carolina. We all know which way that's going to go.
I would love an upset here.
I would too, but the Panthers they're a train wreck this year, so I don't see it happening.
Yeah, they have they can't gel. As I said, Chiefs are 9-1, Panthers are 3-7. They're kind of the laughing stock of the league. Well, not completely, but they're definitely the laughing stock of that division.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we have the Buccaneers going into New York to play the Giants, who benched Daniel Jones this week.
They got Tommy Cutlets coming out.
Tommy Cutlets coming out, but I don't think that's enough against Baker and the Buccaneers. Their defense is still playing very good football.
I think Baker can pull this one out. They're coming off a bye. They took a couple close L's the 2 weeks before bye, and they took some devastating losses on their wide receiver core. I think the Buccaneers find a way to pull this one out for sure, even if it's a rough match.
And our last noon / 1 o'clock game, the Detroit Lions are traveling all the way down to Indianapolis to play the Colts. I think we can all see which way this one's going to go.
If the Colts squeak this out, I will be quite shocked. The Lions have their foot on the gas pedal, and they're doing 95 and a 40 right now. And,
they're not taking their foot off for the curves either. They're hitting them flat out. So
they're hitting the curbs. They got those big tires on. They just bounce around. They don't care. Casualties, they're just like, grandma's in front. Doesn't matter. We're running her down too. We're on our way to a Super Bowl. I think it's Super Bowl or bust for these guys.
I agree. Then we have our first 3 o'clock game, 3 o'clock/4 o'clock. It's at 3:05, 4:05. We have the Broncos going in to play the Raiders. The way the Raiders are playing this year and the way the Broncos defense is looking and Bo Nix is playing, I think that's a Broncos win there.
Divisional game. Anything can happen there. I do think the Broncos take it, though. Their defense is too strong. Bo Nix he's starting to find his comfort zone. That team's starting to gel overall. I think Sean Payton has a plan, but it's going to come down to playoffs with these teams and get playoff seeding, and then who can topple the other team, because it's, the best of one, right? Best of one game.
Right. And
one and done.
That's the way it's going. Now we have the next game. It is 3:25, 4:25. It's the Cardinals going into Seattle, another NFC West battle. The Cardinals are playing really good football right now, but the Seahawks coming off that emotional win, this could be a really tight game.
So, yeah, another divisional game. Cardinals are coming off bye. They got some rest. Whoever wins this game is the division leader, too. So there's definitely some
juice
some clout
involved,
on the line.
Yeah, there's some juice involved. So they're both going to be playing really good football, I hope. The last 3:25, 4:25 game, the San Francisco 49ers going into Green Bay. It's the Battle of the Bays. I would like to see the Niners get healthy, but I don't know.
I think this is where we figure out who's who in the league. I know the Packers are kind of cruising. They've had some close games where they've come out, they squeaked a win away. I think we find out San Francisco losing the Seahawks on the weekend. That was a 3-point game. That was a disappointment. I think we find San Francisco starts to get gritty because that division's pretty tight. We could have a 3-way tie by the end of the weekend if the 49ers and Seahawks both win. That would make the Seahawks at the top of that division at 6-5, but the 49ers would also be 6-5, and the Cardinals would be 6-5. But the Seahawks would have wins on both those teams, so that would put them in the lead. That could be a really interesting division.
I agree. That at the beginning of the season, we thought the NFC North was going to be the best division in football. The NFC West can make a case for that, though.
It's not the best. It's the most interesting.
Yeah. That brings us to our Sunday night game, 7:20 start, 8:20 on the East Coast. Philadelphia Eagles going into Los Angeles. They're flying all the way across the country. Philly's playing really solid football right now, but you don't know which Rams team you're going to see from week to week. One week they look like world beaters, and the next week they struggle to get anything accomplished. I'm going to go Philly on this one.
I'm taking Philly as well. Just for the simple fact of the matter is the Rams haven't proved anything to me, and the Eagles have proved everything. They are putting up points on the board. Saquon is a killer.
Good. Yeah, they're looking really good, and like you said, Saquon was obvious. It looks like he's the missing piece to that team. So,
but here's the funny thing about this game: if the Rams somehow win this game, and the Seahawks beat the Cardinals and the 49ers beat the Packers, we now have a 4-way tie in that division at 6-5. Isn't that crazy?
Just a couple of things, yeah.
I don't think the Rams can do it, but we still have a lot of weeks of football left. So, I mean, this is the division to watch right now. Someone has to pull away and create some separation from the other teams.
And right now, nobody wants to do it. They all want to keep it all bunched up together. Absolutely not. That brings us to our Monday night game. This one has a lot of potential, even though it's on ESPN. The Baltimore Ravens traveling all the way to Los Angeles to play against the Chargers.
Yeah, so this is Brofest. This is Jim versus John Harborough.
We got Harbaugh and Harbaugh crime. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this is a crazy match. I don't know what their records are, but I think John has the up on Jim. I'm not sure. It could be the other way around. So one of them has a better record against the other, and I can't remember who's who. But yeah, two brothers going up against each other. Both well-coached teams. Ravens are 7-4. Chargers are 7-3. This is the game that I'm looking forward to. It's kind of sad to say I can't wait till Monday, because this is actually a really interesting bout.
It does look like a good game, and they're two really good defenses. If I'm not mistaken, these quarterbacks were drafted the same year as well.
Lamar and Herbert?
Yeah.
That's good. I think Lamar might be a year before.
Oh, okay. But Herbert,
I think Lamar might be.
Herbert's been playing really good football under Harbaugh as well. But what they did was they're leaning a little more on the running game, which takes the weight off of them.
Yeah, I think any good team in the NFL has to lean on their run game so that they can open up the field for play action, or so the deep shot. If you're strictly just a throwing team, I think most teams are ready for it, and they're playing a lot of deep safeties.
Yeah, they're playing a lot of cover 2 and cover 3 stuff. Yeah.
And there's a lot more laundry that hits the field in those situations. A lot of pass interference, and it makes it for a more boring football game because there's so much time stoppage.
Mm-hmm.
When an incomplete or yellow hits the field.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the league might have had a conversation with the officials because the laundry seems to have calmed down a little bit the last couple of weeks. Not as many.
Except for last night.
Yeah, except for, a lot of that was just because of Dallas.
They started punching. So that's one thing about that, the frustration on the Dallas side. I don't think I've ever seen this before. They called 4 unsportsmanlike penalties from the little rough-up that they had towards the end of the game on Dallas.
Well, that's because Dallas is all in. Remember, Jerry told us at the end of last season. In 2023, Jerry told us they're all in. So this is their example of all in. So.
All in your face. But yeah, 4 unsportsmanlikes on Dallas and 1 unsportsmanlike on Texas, and they call it on Houston, sorry, because they were both in Texas. 1 unsportsmanlike on Houston, and they call it offsetting penalties. I don't know how 4 equals 1.
Anytime there
I was like, how does that offset? Like so 4 dudes went in and started shit. 1 guy defended himself, and those are offsetting penalties. I've never seen it before.
No, as long as there are both penalties on both sides, it's offsetting. Which I've scratched my head at that a few times myself. I mean,
yeah, it's weird. It's just weird.
I don't get it. So, do we have any house cleaning to take care of, Adam?
So I think you cleaned it up earlier. So the Jets fire a bunch of people again. What is your prediction on the Jets? Are they just going to fire everybody by the end of the season? Is it just the Jets going to be like a little league team by the time we're done?
I'll tell you what I think occurred. They had a really good defense for a couple of years now. Their defense has been premier for a couple of seasons now. Maybe 4, if I think about it going back, when they brought Robert Saleh on as head coach. And then they just needed a quarterback. So they roughed it with Zach Wilson a couple of seasons, because he was first round draft pick, and they thought they had a good guy there. And then they bring in Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers gets hurt that first 4 minutes of his career in New York, and they still now Rodgers is supposedly healthy, but they're still losing. Actually, Rodgers has a worse record than Zach Wilson does as a starting quarterback.
I forgot to ask you, who are you taking in the Ravens-Chargers game?
I think I'm going to go Baltimore.
You're going to take the Ravens?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well then I'll go opposite, because this one has a chance to be a real barn burner of a game. Right now, you have a record of 22-16, and I'm so close to being at the 500 mark now, 18-20. I'm so excited about that. I don't even want to beat you anymore. I just want to beat myself. I just want to be better than, I don't want to be under 500. I've got that NFL vibe right now.
But I think what's going on in New York is ownership is like, we got Aaron Rodgers. We're supposed to be in this, and they're not. So they're freaking out.
They've spent a lot of money. And, now they fired. So this year so far, they fired their head coach and they fired their GM. My question is, who's next?
The ownership made a comment. They're all in with Aaron Rodgers next year, so he's safe. They do have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. They just can't quite put it together.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And I mean, is it the Jets' curse? Is it? I don't know what's going on there. it's just really surreal. Like, okay, so we know that the NFL is a business, and when you lose consistently, heads are going to roll because they have to show the fans, hey, we're making changes so that we can be a better team.
What have you done for me lately?
But when you continually roll the dice and make heads roll and you don't improve, what are you actually doing? You're just giving the fans anxiety.
I think that's called the Chicago Bears. The what you're describing there, they keep doing things over and over and over, and nothing changes. And I think that's the answer to that question you just asked is Chicago Bears. That's what that is.
Yeah, well, you got to see peak Chicago Bears, like those 1985 Chicago Bears. I mean, I don't think you're ever going to see a team like that again.
No, I don't think so. And
you got spoiled a little bit, just like I got spoiled with the 2000 Patriots, and we got like almost like 20 years of dominance. I'm never going to see that again.
Well,
it takes teams time to rebuild, and the Jets have had a very long time. They're the laughingstock of that division.
They are, and they have been for 20 years now, basically since Curtis Martin
Miami
retired.
lost their quarterback, who actively tries to get CTE every game, and they have a better record than the Jets right now.
That's kind of an odd hobby to have as an adult.
I swear, I swear the guy, instead of like stubbing his toe on a stair or something, he bangs his head against like the trim.
I'm not going to question that at all, because even Sunday in the game, he went head first in the tackle because it was a turnover.
Yeah,
and he took a knee in the helmet from it. What are you doing?
He looks like he actually wants to get a concussion. Like he's searching for them. It's like a Pokemon for him. He's got to catch all the CTE.
Well,
he's got to catch all the concussions.
But Brother Simone, what are you going to do? He's got to prove he's a man. So
I haven't got one from this team yet. Got to catch them all.
Most guys exchange jerseys. He exchanges head wounds.
Yeah, with elbows and shoulders and knees.
All right. Anything else? We got all squared away here?
I think we're pretty cleaned up for the week. I'm looking forward to week 12. We're kind of coming down to some serious playoff contention. I mean, it's still wide open, but and it's going to come down to week 18 for sure.
I hope you boys
it always does.
Yeah, probably. I hope you boys and girls are enjoying the videos I've been throwing up on the Facebook page. They're just goofing off and.
Oh yeah. Check out those. I get excited about it. I don't know that we're getting a new video. I find out, it doesn't tell me anything. I just happen to go on and just like, oh, Terry made a new video. Cool.
For my broadcast partner, the ever effable and effervescent Adam Whitehall. He puts the in Canada. He is Duke Kaboom. Yes, we Canada. It's Adam. Adam, where can the boys and girls find you at?
Yes, we Canada. Find us at facebook.com straight off the couch. You can see Terry's cleverly edited videos of giving you kind of like the lowdown on some of the primetime games. And he throws in a couple little meme-ish things that are quite fun, but you have to watch them to find out. You can also check us out at Linktree, straight off the couch. It's got all our broadcast partners, our outlets, I guess you could say, Apple Podcasts, Google well, not Google anymore, but because they closed that, but all Amazon, Spotify, everything. If there's a podcast platform out there, we're on it to make it easier for you. You can find me, actually, if you just want to hang out. You can find me at Adam Off the Couch on the X/Twitter, TweetDeck, whatever you want to call it. And same on Instagram, Adam Off the Couch. How about you, Terry?
You can find me on the X at TREMUP. That's at TREMUP. And on Instagram at Tear'emUpTerry. For my broadcast partner, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Be safe. God bless. Bye-bye.
Have a week.